time to talk a little bit about sports. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to another FUTRtech video podcast. I also want to let everyone know that the audio version of this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or most of the other popular podcast outlets. Or you can find it at FUTR.buzzsprout.com. Sports has been an unfortunate victim of this global pandemic. Sports junkies all over the country are really hurting. And we always say that in chaos, there is opportunity. And one company standing ready to step in and help bring the fun back to sports is HotMic. HotMic gives you the opportunity to choose your watch party with your favorite sports personality, celebrity, or just host your own watch party with your friends. It's like a tailgate party in your own home. Today we have HotMic Founder, CEO, and startup veteran Sean Longworth with us to talk about what it's like to build a startup in the midst of a pandemic and how to remain agile and to adjust and pivot in a market turned upside down. Welcome, Sean.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. And as always, we have Sundesh Patel with us.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here, buddy.
So, Sean, you've got a really interesting app. And I think, I would love for you to sort of describe, we'll run a little, video of what it does, but if you could describe what it is that HotMic does and sort of the value proposition and the idea behind it so that everybody can understand what we're talking about.
Sure, yeah. So we started HotMic pre-COVID with the idea that watching sports alone is no fun. And we wanted to give people an opportunity that were sitting at home, just watching TV by themselves, an opportunity to invite friends or watch the game with their favorite podcasters or sports personalities. So we started building that back in the beginning of 2019, launched for NFL fans last October, and then EPL fans. And it was super popular. Lots of NFL fans, podcasters, and personalities across them came and they invited their fans to watch games with them, and fans loved it. Then we lost sports for a little bit, and now more than ever, it's interesting to think about how people are going to come together and watch sports again now that even season ticket holders are sitting home in front of their TV, generally alone, watching the game.
Well, I think it's really interesting because on the one hand, we're seeing the absolute meltdown of the sports industry. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so you are a sports-centric startup, and so that's got to be terrifying, right? But in that same vein, you mentioned that people are sitting at home watching TV, and that's really the value proposition you're bringing to this, is to how to enhance and make that experience great. And it seems to fit right in to the need to socialize around some of these things. That you're satisfying a need that's kind of gone out of the marketplace right now. It seems like the timing's both terrible and wonderful.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the best experiences that I've had in my life have been celebrating sports with friends. I mean, those are my best times. I've always been a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
And you go to a game with fans or with friends, and it's awesome, right? You have the time of your life. And what we've always envisioned is how do we try to recreate some of that experience when people have to be home alone? And now more than ever, not only are we thinking about that, and a lot of people think about that, but the teams are thinking about that. The leagues are thinking about that, because now you have people at these teams that were responsible for the fan engagement when they're in the stadium that now don't have fans in the stadium. And they're thinking, how do we bring fans together and try to recreate what we have in the stadium in some way? Obviously, we're in the right place at the right time for these discussions.
Yeah, I mean, it's with the downturn of everything, it gives you a little bit more room to demonstrate your value proposition. So it's like you kind of cleared the field of all the noise, and now, NFL teams are going to pay attention, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we were able to build, a competitive product around this where everybody else has kind of been caught off guard. And our competitors are things like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and they're not built for that, right? They are built for as enterprise video conferencing solutions, and we've built a watch party app specific to helping people make that experience when they're in their home. So yeah, we have a leg up on the competition, even though our competition is massive.
Well, and it's interesting because I think there's a value proposition that exists outside of sports in this as well. And I know that, like in the reel that we just played, it shows one individual talking about the financial markets. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously more applications beyond just sports.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the technology that we had to figure out. So when we went in to tackle this problem, the number one problem with watch parties on TV is that people aren't watching TV concurrently anymore. People are watching, like when we grew up, everyone had an antenna or eventually cable, and we all watched the event at the same exact time. Now that people are streaming and have a multitude of different service providers, people are generally watching sports within about 60 to 90 seconds of each other, but they're not actually watching at the same time. And this has been a problem that's been growing as more people are streaming. So when we thought about how we address this challenge, the first thing we need to figure out is how do we make sure there's no spoilers? And how do we get commentary from a streamer on a live event to be perfectly in sync with what people are watching on their TV, regardless if they're watching on Hulu or Google or Comcast cable. And that's something that we figured out first. And we have this TV sync solution, the software that we built that listens to TVs and can calibrate the timing of a TV by simply listening to it. And then we can match up a watch party to a person's TV so they feel like they're in the same room as that person and they're really connected. And that's not something you can get through just any video conferencing solution. It needs to be specially built.
Yeah, and it's interesting. When we first met, pre-COVID, and you were sort of talking about how it all works. My initial impression was like, this will never work. But then you showed me it working and I'm like, oh, that does actually work. Wow. That's pretty cool. Because the thing that I thought was really interesting is because you can't actually use the sound feeds from the games, you actually recreate the sounds of the games for the app so that you still have the hits and all the crowd noise and all that stuff. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's just another challenge, right? I mean, when you're watching alone and you're trying to recreate the experience of being in the stadium, we liken it to like a laugh track. Like if you're watching a sitcom, there's a laugh track, and the laugh track is clearly fake, and everybody knows it's fake. But it's still helpful because it's fun to laugh with somebody. It's easier to laugh when you're hearing somebody else laugh.
Yeah.
And what we do is we just create a little bit of game sound and we add it into our streams. So it just feels a little bit more like you're at the game together. It's clearly fake. Everybody knows it's fake, but it's a little bit fun, right?
Hollywood magic.
Yeah, that's right.
And so out of curiosity, what are you doing now when there's no crowds in the stadiums? Are you still putting the crowd in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's fake is better than nothing, right?
Yeah, you've accomplished something that the major sports teams haven't figured out yet.
Yeah, they're doing it.
They're doing it. Yeah, if you watch the Cubs right now, Chris, they'll that's what they're doing. You'll hear all this crowd noise, and the first thing I thought about was HotMic. I was like, this is what they do.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the first time you see this fake stuff or hear it, it's weird. It's odd. But then you get used to it and it's additive at some point. Just kind of like the laugh track in a sitcom.
Yeah.
If you had never heard it before and suddenly you heard it, you'd be like, wow, that's weird. There's fake people laughing. How did that? But after a while you get used to it and then you're like, actually it's better than nothing.
I gotta say that I didn't find it weird when I first heard it the first time.
Good.
So you may be selling yourself a little bit short on that.
Yeah, no, it's very well done.
So what inspired this idea? I mean, why did you think this is the market I want to get into.
Yeah. I hate watching sports alone. I've got kids that are, young enough where I'm home all the time. People get kids and they no longer go out to the bars and meet with friends. And the truth of the matter is you're sitting at home a lot watching games by yourself. And that's no fun. And you'd call friends, but then there's the sync issue. They're ahead of you or you're behind them, and it's no fun to really talk about the game. You can get on Twitter, but the emotional connection that you were trying to get wasn't really there. So, I thought it was a worthy problem to solve even before COVID, just for guys like me that kind of want to watch the game with people.
Well, I remember when I was younger, we used to, we would like watch the Bears game and turn on WGN radio to get the play-by-play.
Yeah.
But the sync was terrible.
Yeah, that's right. It's another problem that we can help solve.
Yeah. So you're taking an old problem and putting a new twist to it in some regard.
Yeah, that's right. And to your question earlier, when you were asking about other types of content, our solution syncs commentary to TV. So we built it for live sports, and live sports is where we think the best emotion is. Mm-hmm. But, we've certainly had a lot of women want to watch The Bachelor together. That's been a really popular thing on our platform.
Well, that's kind of a sporting event anyways.
Exactly. And speaking of sporting events, how about the debates?
Oh my God, yeah.
The debates together. Is really popular for people to watch the Grammys and the Oscars. So there are sporting things outside of sporting events that people want to get together and watch.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And that sort of brings up another topic, right? Because I imagine last year when you were building this app, you couldn't have foreseen COVID. But you have the benefit of being a small, lean, and agile company. And you're able to pivot and adapt. Can you talk a little bit about how you've pivoted and changed your plans and rearranged things in this new context?
Yeah. So obviously without sports, things were not good, right? We need something on TV. But as sports came back and came back without fans in the seats, and with teams and leagues looking for ways to engage fans, a lot changed for us as far as inbound and discussions we're having with the current sports ecosystem. Pre-COVID, we were just a small startup with some cool technology, but not big enough to have the types of conversations I wanted to with big sports teams or the NFL or these types of guys. But I think now that they're all looking for solutions and ways to engage fans, we're starting to get involved in those discussions. And we have an out-of-the-box solution right now that the other companies don't have that let them not only offer something cool to their fans, a way for them to get their fans together, but also to integrate their corporate sponsors who are also left holding an open bag right now, right? So if you're a sponsor for in-stadium towels or giveaways or whatever they're like, at this point, they're losing some of those corporate sponsorship dollars. And we offer a way for them to maybe put them in a watch party hosted by some celebrity talent, which would be a fun way for not only the fans, but also for their sponsors to integrate.
So tell me a bit about the talent that you get. I mean, where do you source your talent, and what kind of talent are you looking for here? Because obviously, I got to imagine that drives a lot of retention, right?
Yeah, the people who flocked to the platform initially were 90% podcasters, sports podcasters, and the logic is pretty simple. Was we do a lot of stuff pre-game or post-game, and certainly a lot of fans will listen to pre and post game content, super fans. The truth of the matter is most of the fans are in front of the game, right? And only a fraction of them actually listen to pre and post type of stuff. So if you really want to get in front of your fans, the best time is to try to engage them while the action's on TV. And 93% of all sports fans watch content live. It's just the nature of it. Nobody wants to see stale content anymore. So we offered them a way to take their engaged fan base and watch games with them, and they immediately took to it.
Are you seeing any like breakout stars in this? I mean, because we always hear about the YouTube celebrities and the TikTok celebrities and Twitch streamers and.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had a podcast for EPL. We have our top podcast is a group of guys in Liverpool, and it's called the Anfield Wrap, and it's a local podcast dedicated to Liverpool football.
Oh, wow!
And they had a great year, if you haven't heard. And their podcast format was popular. Certainly did a good job. But they came on HotMic and started hosting watch parties. And it was an amazing year for them because they just continued to get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And then there was this, the games at the end where they were inevitably going to win because they were the leader in the pack for a while. And their streams just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And in the stream where they won the championship, they had 7,000 people join them from across the globe to celebrate the Liverpool win. And that's just really cool for us, right? For a small platform that we are, that was really exciting. So, I mean, I'd say that was our first real success story there. And it's cool to see all these people experiencing something that hasn't happened in, 40 years or something, Liverpool win. And they were on HotMic together, experiencing that and in a chat room and engaging with their favorite podcast. It was just awesome to see.
Sean, the first correction should be, it's not Liverpool, it's Liverpool.
Right. What I'm curious about is how do you reproduce the sound of hooliganism? I mean, like what is the sound of a chair being ripped out of the stadium and thrown at an opposing fan?
So we got to work on that one. We don't have it in there yet. Yeah. So, I mean, we look at users in kind of 3 different categories right now. One would be official watch parties, which would be team led, or, part of an official ecosystem. The other would be unofficial, which is the podcasters or YouTubers or streamers that have followings and talk about stuff. And the other is just people wanting to watch the game with friends, right? Those are like kind of the 3 pockets where people want to engage. Right now we have a very kind of advanced marketing tool around the unofficial, right? So that we reach out to all these people and recruit them from various streaming platforms and other podcasting networks to come onto our platform. And we're basically selling them on Twitch for live sports, right? Twitch built millions of dollars, and, Twitch, enabled a lot of millionaires by letting people talk about video games they're playing if you're really good at it. And we want to do the same thing for people talking about sports. And that value prop has resonated with a lot of our streamers.
Yeah, it's good because like those companies like Twitch actually validate what you're doing, right? And so it gives you a little bit more validation in the market, and so it's I think that's probably been very kind of complementary to your efforts, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, we say that all the time, Twitch for live sports, and people seem to get it, right? I don't game, right? I watch sports. When I have extra time, I turn on the TV and I want to see who's pitching or see what basketball game's on, right? Me and my friends are like that. So, if you're into gaming, Twitch is awesome. You can see other people play the game at a level you've never seen and talk about it, and it's fun. But for me, it's not fun to watch somebody play a video game.
No, God, no. I don't understand. I don't understand the kids these days. My son watches people playing Minecraft like it's like his favorite thing, and it's like what? And I am really, really trying to understand like why that is fun, But what I have realized is these kids these days watch some stupid shit, and. But then maybe it's like Chris says, I think you're just the old guy that's going to be yelling, get off of my lawn, So I don't know. Maybe I will one day watch people doing Minecraft. I don't know. I doubt it. But sports, yes, I'm in.
A lot of people say the same thing about baseball, though. They watch baseball and they're like, oh my God, this is boring, right? Like I can't watch it. But I love it. I could watch baseball 12 hours a day. So it's all taste, right? I want to get together with people and watch baseball, and that's what we built the product for.
Well, I mean, the thing is, gaming has a huge audience. I mean, there was Dr. Disrespect came back to Twitch, and I think he got his return had 750,000 viewers online at once, and somebody else recently just came back and had 500,000 in his audience watching. It's just the numbers are staggering. I mean, the video game industry makes more money than the movie industry, which is hard to fathom, but it's orders of magnitude bigger market. Crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy market.
All to say, you're in a good spot, Sean.
Yes.
So good for you, man.
It does.
I don't get it. I don't game. I don't even have a console. I just not there.
Yeah. So how do your your content partners, your unofficial sort of content partners, how do they monetize this? I mean, is there like a certain like they get a certain percentage of ad revenue, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, in similar ways to Twitch, right? Twitch splits revenue with their partners, and so does YouTube, right? So we have a similar model, but it's a little bit more catered to what we do and the fact that we do have a lot of podcasters. So our ad product is more like a live read that you would do during a podcast,
right?
Associated with the banner. And then we target game time sponsors, people that want to get in front of people for the game. And that's a valuable audience, right? So there's plenty of sponsors that want to get in front of the fans that are watching sports, and our community brings them together. So there's lots of opportunities to monetize.
Do you allow those content producers to bring their own sponsors as well?
We do. Yeah, we do. And we'll help them integrate them. So we do both. We want to be able to provide them high value sponsorships, but we recognize a lot of them have their own, and they should bring them.
That's awesome. It'll be really interesting to see how this evolves, and who some of the big celebrities are that sort of arise out of it, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So let me ask you this, Sean. So let's just say I'm listening to this podcast right now. I'm a big sports fan, and I got a couple buddies from college, high school, whatever it might be. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm watching the Cubs game from home. I like watching the game with a few of my buddies. What's the process? Can you just kind of simply, let's just say I got four friends. How simple is it? How easy is it? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we launched the app, it was a professional streaming platform that people would come on and deliver high quality streams and try to connect with a large audience of people was the goal. But the new app that we're actually launching here right now allows you to just open the app, click start create a watch party, and then it listens to your TV right from the app. And then invite your friends, and then your friends would come in, and everyone would have almost like their own little Zoom call, if you will, with little bubbles. You can, do a video chat with your friends, and we help everybody sync the room. So then we use our sync technology to let everyone watch together. And then we give them some fun engagement tools, like the things we're adding around. What do we do when we watch games together? We like to bet. We like to, we like to answer questions. We like to guess on things, right? And those are the type of things that people want to do when they watch games, and we're going to put that stuff in the app.
Awesome.
One of the things I think is interesting about this is, we always are talking about how video is the new thing. Video enablement is such a big deal right now. I mean, just, for companies, because everybody is now online, with a camera in their face and having a conversation. And, and this is just another example of like how relevant, this sort of medium is gonna be going forward. It's got to be really kind of a challenging thing dealing with all the different folks coming in with different levels of video enablement and the fans with different levels of video enablement. I mean, you're kind of tackling the Zoom problem, right? And that's not a small problem to tackle.
No, it isn't. We've got the best video engineers in the world, though. We really do. I mean, we've solved some of the hardest problems that exist in this space. So if you've got good people, all those problems are
no doubt
you're able to overcome them.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be quite a challenge, and I got to imagine scaling, is going to be tricky too, because you're going to be very bursty. When the Super Bowl is going on, it's a big time, but in between seasons, it might not be so exciting, right?
Yeah, scale is always an issue. From a technology standpoint, scale is more addressable now than it probably ever has been. It's easier to deal with scale, and there's always layers of it which you have to prepare for. And getting to that next layer of scale is always a little bit challenging. But now with cloud computing and the way services are built, it's easier to scale than ever before.
So to that point, I mean, how do you monetize this platform? I mean, obviously there's a lot of different avenues to approach that, but what is the plan there?
So right now we're partner first. We want to work with the official rights holders and the teams to help them build their communities. And I think we look at that as a competitive advantage. Because if they go with other streaming platforms, the biggest streaming platforms out there are competitive to traditional media. Mm-hmm. You've got Google and Facebook and Amazon are the biggest ones. And if you look at a team like the Chicago Cubs, for example, as Sandesh was pointing out, the Cubs are trying to congregate their audience and sell that to sponsors. But YouTube competes against them, right? Google has Cubs fans too. Amazon has Cubs fans. So it's the new media is very competitive with traditional media. Mm-hmm. And what we'd like to do is use our approach as a competitive advantage and partner with people to help them congregate their fans and install high value sponsorships as opposed to just trying to compete at low value.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point because it is, like you say, it is a very competitive market in that sense of, mm-hmm. where the eyeballs are going. And, we've heard for a long time about, the rise of the second screen. But, the promise of that, I don't think has really been realized. But I think this you're bringing something to market that has a little bit of a different angle to it that can be a little bit more sticky in that sense, right?
I think that's maybe the most exciting thing that we're doing. If you think about traditional media, TV, they get extremely high value advertising, right? And a lot of measures, you could say it's 8 to 15x what digital media is.
Yeah. Even though their viewership is lower in many cases, which is strange.
Yeah, it's a more engaged audience.
Yeah.
But the elephant in the room that we all know exists is that when a TV commercial comes on TV, everybody looks down at their phone because everybody has a phone in their hand when they're watching TV these days. A lot of people are on their phone while they're watching TV, but certainly when the action breaks, they look down. Mm-hmm. And there's not a good solution out there to connect the two, but we're synced with TV. So we know exactly where somebody is in their TV program, regardless of what service they're using. So what we'd like to do is work with those traditional media companies to pair the second screen experience with the first screen so that when somebody looks down at their phone, if there's a Domino's Pizza ad on TV, they're also seeing the coupon for it right there on their phone. So they're hearing this ad and getting that while at the same time getting it delivered to their phone. That, to me, is the best solution.
Well, and I got to imagine that advertisers would be dying for that information, too.
Yeah, and it's not that complex, right? That's something that we could do today. There's, easy ways to recognize what commercials are playing on TV and automatically play ads or associate them with ads. So that technology is kind of already solved.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of somebody delivering on it. And what we'd like to do is work with the traditional media companies, the teams, and the existing ecosystem to create truly innovative stuff that changes the way people engage with TV.
So tell me, I just want to turn back a little bit to, kind of the life of the startup and sort of the challenges of building a business in this environment. Could you speak a little bit to how do you you clearly started pre-COVID, but this is sort of that prime time where companies supposed to be raising money and building their market share and doing all those things and starting to generate revenue. That's a really challenging environment these days. And we had on John Thompson, chairman of the board of Microsoft, and he said that companies need to have 24 to 36 months of reserve right now to kind of weather this storm. Obviously being young, small, and agile, you have some advantages of being able to move quickly and pivot and shift and do things. Could you speak a little bit to what you're encountering in that regard?
Yeah. So before COVID hit, we were lucky to raise a nice seed round. We raised a few $1 million. When I look at challenging times, which we're clearly in, there's opportunities and threats. And when COVID first hit and sports shut down, we were a little shell shocked. We kind of sat back and stopped hiring and started thinking about how we were going to, best use the money we had. But after, an initial, 30 days of kind of thinking through that, we got pretty bullish, right? Because a lot of people were talking about sports coming back at some point with no fans. And the core value statement that we're delivering was just getting stronger. So we leaned in. We started actually hiring. We had this some product development that we were going to release at the end of the year. And we upped it to now this watch party app that I was just describing earlier with friends. So we stepped on the gas a little bit because I think there are companies that will come out of the ashes that will be stronger than before. Yeah. And I think we're well positioned to be one of those companies. So we made a decision to move forward.
Well, and hey, at this point, there might not be a lot to invest in too. So, a company that looks like it's going to rise from the ashes might be a really attractive thing. I mean, it's sort of that right place, right time scenario. Even though everything's crashing around you, it sort of reduces the competition and some of the noise in the market too.
Yeah, that's right. The few months off gave us some time to really think through the product too. So, which you don't when things are running full speed. It's hard to kind of just take a step back and look at what the product needs. So in some ways, it was a blessing, right? Because we wouldn't be where we are today on the product side had COVID not happened. And now sports are just restarting and we have much better product and actually a better value statement. So we got lucky.
So Sean, tell me, what's next for you and HotMic? Where's your next big, what's your next big announcement, your next big thing, your next big pivot? What's the story?
Well, I do think we're going to get some stuff done with sports teams, right? So I can't talk about anything that we have going at this moment, but I think by the end of the year, HotMic will be partnered with some teams and maybe even a league on official watch parties. And that would be super exciting for us. But the big news for us is on the product side and pivoting a little bit from a pure live streaming network to more of a social network. The app today that people are in it, they can follow somebody and they can attend their watch parties. But they haven't been able to invite friends and create private watch parties or even create their own public watch parties from the app. That's new functionality. And that's probably a bigger market than what we're in right now. Sure, a lot of people want to watch a game with their favorite sports personalities, but there's more people that just want to hang out with their friends, right? Yeah. So adding the features that we needed to have in order to make that experience work took us the longest, but we're pretty close to launching that, and that's going to be the big news for us over the next few months.
Well, let me know when that's going to come out, because my daughter has been doing like impromptu sort of watch parties with all of her friends, and like a platform like this would really make it go. I mean, she's going to be watching. I think we're watching 7 Deadly Sins, which is an anime show. So it's going to be very different. But they're all getting on together at, they pick a time and they all watch, shows together.
Right.
So
that's right. That's the way they're doing it. And it's awesome. Yeah. So
it's important to keep people sane.
Yeah. They're figuring out how to connect and kind of do their thing. And, is your daughter a teenager?
She's 15.
Yeah. So she needs to connect. It's absolutely something that she needs. And she figured out how to do it through technology. So that's awesome for her, and we'd love to have more of that kind of activity on HotMic.
Well, I'll definitely have her download it and give it a shot. So
cool, thank you.
That's exciting. Yeah. So Sean, I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much. We're definitely excited about where this is going. I think it's interesting to see. We're always trying to identify technologies in a very stressed market, that are going to be taking advantage of that change, right? And within the chaos, there's opportunity. So it's interesting to see you guys grow and build something to, seize on that opportunity. So thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much for having me on, and hopefully we'll get some exciting things going. So thank you very much for having me on.
And maybe down the road, we'll have to highlight one of your streamers to see how they put their whole thing together, because some of them are doing quite elaborate things. So that'd be interesting.
They're amazing people. They're amazing people. The personalities of these guys to get online and build followings just straight through a camera like this is something else. These guys are amazing.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it. And good luck with everything.
Thanks, Krish. Thanks, Sandesh. Nice to see you guys.
You bet.
All right.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That helps a ton. And if you want to get notified when we post new content, click on that bell icon, and I'll see you in the next video.